Why do we keep doing things that don't serve us? How ancient wisdom and modern psychology shed light on unhelpful habits. This is printed in Psychology Today and posted March 14th, 2025. We all experience pain, the first arrow, but suffering is something we add, the second arrow. Ancient wisdom and modern psychology can help us understand why we do things that don't serve us. Often it's because these habits either once served us or now they make us feel a bit better short term. The Mindfulness of Life program teaches us to recognize this and respond with kindness and wisdom. When something difficult happens, how do you react? In these moments, many of us may turn to our favorite go-to coping habits, even if they don't serve us in the long run. Escaping into your phone, social media, or gaming. Keeping busy, comfort eating. My daughter once caught me grabbing a snack and said, "Dad, you can't eat your feelings." Or finding someone or something to blame it all on, such as it's social media's fault. The two arrows, how we turn pain into suffering. More than 2,500 years ago, the Buddha told the story of the two arrows to describe how we turn pain into suffering. We all encounter pain and discomfort, which is the first arrow. An automatic, simple reaction to something like touching a live flame or seeing something that upsets us. And then there's a second arrow. This is our resistance, judgment, and the stories we tell ourselves. The first arrow, the pain of being burnt by the flame, is automatic. It will be fired regardless, and there's nothing we can do about it. The second arrow is how we react. And it's here that we largely, without knowing we're doing it, we can create distress and suffering. How do we react and why that are ultimately unhelpful? Why do we fire a second arrow? In some ways, it's obvious. We don't want to feel bad, and we don't like it, and we want to feel good. We want things to go well, and we want them so much that we might stick our head in the sand. We might blame someone else, or we might try desperately to fix it. These strategies often make us feel like we're doing something helpful, trying to fix or explain what's happened. And they may even make us feel better some of the time. But because we feel a little bit better, we may do it again and again. And before we know it, it has become a habit, even part of our personality. Reactivity. How suffering is created. From an evolutionary and psychological perspective, the Buddha's teaching on the second arrow can be expanded. Our tendency to react automatically has deep roots. In our evolutionary history, certain habits served us well. We learn to seek safety, water, food, and companionship. We learn to avoid threats or seek whatever confers survival value. It also makes sense on a personal level. If you grew up in a home with a lot of conflict, you may have learned to avoid arguments by slipping away to your room and putting headphones on. That strategy worked then, but it may now show up whenever tension arises, even if withdrawing no longer helps. How our brains learn and keep unhelpful habits. Behavioral psychology points to associative and operant learning as key drivers of our actions. 1. Associative learning. This is learning through association. Just as my dog learned that when I put my shoes on a walk, walk may be in the cards. And we learn that certain bodily states are associated with emotions. For instance, a pounding heart could be excitement or anxiety. 2. Operant learning. Here, behaviors are shaped by reinforcements. Something pleasant that follows an action, like praise from a parent. Positive reinforcement is when something rewarding follows our actions. A store owner offers discounts for people who bring their own bags, for example. Negative reinforcement is when an action removes something unpleasant, like comfort eating, when we feel stressed. These quick fixes can become embedded habits because they make us feel better. Punishment teaches us to avoid doing something that leads to an unpleasant outcome, like not speeding to avoid a ticket. Why do unhelpful habits persist? By itself, any habit would fade slowly, a process called extinction. But when something is reinforced just some of the time, partial or intermittent reinforcement, this keeps it going. Think of gamblers who keep playing the slot machines even when they're losing, because there's always that random chance of winning. Of course, many difficult things we face in our lives are only too real. Illness, money problems, losing people we love, as well as wider issues in the world like inequalities, economic downturns, and climate change. The hopeful message is that we come to recognize our reactivity, the second arrow, and in time train ourselves to spot our reactivity and stop firing that second arrow. By recognizing our habits as soon as they arise, we begin to see them more clearly. From there, with practice, we can gently choose a different response. This is why mindfulness matters.